Today we're looking at subscripted variables, and then we're going to look at angle relationships. Y'all know what subscripted means? Have y'all seen that on Word before? Yeah. The number of nickels or the number of dimes or the second X or the first X or whatever. That's what we're going to be looking at. Okay. Yeah. So when we work word problems, sometimes X and Y doesn't really make sense. Like when we work word problems. If you're dealing with nickels and dimes, does it make sense to use X and Y? Not really. What have y'all been using instead? Nickels and pennies, what have y'all been using? N and P, right? The first letter of whatever it starts with. So sometimes X and Y isn't helpful. Y'all have already figured that out. But if you have nickels and what's another N word? If you have nickels and numbers, would you want to use N for both of them? Okay. So if you have the sum of nickels and dimes is 40, what have y'all normally done for this? Yeah. You can also say the number of nickels plus the number of dimes equals 40, right? Yeah, that's okay. But there are going to be problems where they will have subscriptive variables. Yeah. So it doesn't matter to me which one you use, but some of the problems you will have to use subscriptive variables because they give you subscriptive variables. Okay? Helpful. So n subscript n plus n subscript d is 40, or just n plus d is 40, either one. But they're going to use problems like this. They're two different variables, yes. They want you to practice using subscriptive variables because we're going to start using subscriptive variables for our problems. Yeah, use NN and use ND. Don't substitute in something else for them. Because in the future, very soon, we're going to have problems that are going to have subscriptive variables, and you need to be able to work with them. Okay? So if you look at the system of equations, how could we solve it? You could do substitution or elimination. Which one might be faster? Okay, what would you want to do to eliminate something? Do y'all see why it should be -5? Okay, so we keep the second equation. What would our first equation become? Do y'all see how that works? Any questions here? Okay, so we've got the ND. How do we find the N sub N? So what would N sub N equal? Do we need to write this as an ordered pair? Why not? It's not XYs, right? I mean, we don't know what the N and the D stand for. Most likely nickels and dimes since we've got a 5 and a 10, but we really don't know. Does that make sense? Any questions on these? Okay. Like I said, we're going to start using a lot more subscriptive variables. That's why you don't want to start substituting in things for them. R and T, rate and time. Yes, dirt problems. M and W, people's names, really. That's usually what it's going to be. Yeah, you don't have to know what they actually represent. Right now, they're just getting you used to working with subscriptive variables. Mhm. Like T subscript M plus T subscript W equals 5. We want to find RM, RW, TM, and TW. Why? We have 4 variables. We got to find all 4 of them. They gave us 2, so we're good, right? On those 2. Well, what should we do? How could we, what'd you say? I can't hear you. Instead of TM, RM, what could I put in? 40 TM plus 60 TW equals 260. Hold on. RM is 40, so we just put a 40 there. RW is 60, so we just put a 60. Does that make sense? They won't always tell you what RM and RW are. Sometimes it'll be more variables, not just a number. So sometimes you'll have to solve for all 4 of them. Do what? We got to figure out what TM and TW are. Yeah, how can we use elimination? Multiply this equation by negative 40. What would be negative 40 times TM? Whoop. Do you see how that works? Okay, so we'll end up with 20 TW equals what? Do y'all see how that works? So what would TW equal? Do y'all see how that works? Any questions on this one? Okay, so if TW equals 3, what's our other variable we need to find? Yeah, TM, which is 2. Do y'all see how that works? At some point, they will stop putting these as numbers, okay? We'll get there, but at some point, they will stop making these numbers. Right now, they are, so really, you're only looking for 2 variables, but eventually, you will have to find all 4 of them. We'll get there. It's not that hard. After you practice with these, those won't be very difficult. Any questions on this one? Do y'all see how these work? Okay. All right. Whenever you have 2 lines cut by transversal, there are pairs of equal angles that are formed, and you have pairs of supplementary angles that are formed. When? Far? How are angle 1 and angle 2 related? Not complementary. Supplementary. How are these two related? These two? Okay. What about 1 and 4? They're vertical and they are the same. What about 7 and 3? They're equal. Have I told y'all the name for those? Corresponding? It's the name for them? Yeah, I don't remember if I actually told y'all the name of them. 1 and 5 are corresponding. Can you find another pair of corresponding angles? 2 and 6 and 4 and 8. And what about these three pairs? They're what? 1, 5, 2, 6, 4, and 8 that y'all just said. How are they related? They're corresponding, but no. They're the same. 1 and 5 are the same, 3 and 7 are the same, 2 and 6 are the same, and 4 and 8 are the same. That makes sense? Okay. What about 3 and 6? Yeah. These are the same. Have you taken geometry? Okay. Okay. What about these two? They're the same. It's called alternate interiors. Saxon doesn't teach it in Algebra 2. It waits until geometry to tell y'all the name of it. Yeah. I don't know why, but you're supposed to know how to use it, but you don't actually learn the name until next year. Yeah. Don't ask me. Alternate interiors are these two. 1 and 8, don't know how they are related? They're alternate exterior. Yes. What about 2 and 7? And how are they related? They're going to be the same. Mm-hmm. These are the same. These are the same. Those are the same. Those are the same. What about 3 and 5? They are supplementary. They're called same side interiors instead of alternate because they're on the same side, but they're still interior angles. And then 4 and 6, and they're supplementary and same side interiors. It's okay if you don't know the names of them. It's not ever going to quiz you on the names of them, but you just want to know how they're related. Okay. No, two set. 1, 4, 5, and 8 are all the same angle. 2, 3, 6, and 7 are all the same angle. So let's look at this example. Any ideas what you would do? You agree? We've got two variables and two unknowns. I mean, that's the same thing. We've got two variables, right? Can we use this equation to find both of them? No, we need another equation. Oh wait, you said 5x. I can't hear as well with these on. Do y'all agree? Are these two angles the same? What are these two angles? That's what we have on our paper or on our sheet. Does that make sense? Those are the two equations. You can come up with other ones. You could say 7x minus 2y equals 130, right? You could say 5x minus 10y equals 130. You could set it up a bunch of different ways. You really just need two equations. We're going to get our x's and our y's all on the left side. So for this equation, if I move my x's over, what would I get? Subtract 5x plus 8y equals 0. You'll see how that works? For this equation, I already have 7x minus 2y. What is it going to equal? 130. Y'all see how that works? Could you do substitution on this one? You could say x equals negative 4y, or you could do elimination. I don't really care which one you do. Which one do y'all want to do? Okay, which variable do you want to eliminate? Okay, what are you going to multiply the bottom equation by? So what would our bottom equation be? What's 13 times 4? That is 0. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Okay, what would you get? That's okay. That's fine. So we got x. Now what? Where should we plug it in? Which one? So say and plug it in here. So 2 times 17 and a third plus 8y equals 0. Divide by 8. All right, 34 times 3 would be 102 plus 2 is 104, right? Times what? 104 and 8. Will those reduce? By what? By 4? What's 100 divided by 4? 100 divided by 4 is 25, and another 4, right? And the 8 would go to, so what does y equal? So we got a negative number, but that's okay because what happens when we say negative 10 times negative 13 over 3? If it's positive, right? So that's still an angle. What about here? If it had been like y, would negative 13 over 3 work? Why not? You can't have a negative angle, right? So as long as it's not by itself, you're good. Does that make sense? You usually get weird numbers. You're going to start getting some strange numbers. Yesterday we did graphing by elimination. Well, we did elimination and then we graphed one, and it was like 5-4 or something. On your test, maybe not the one Friday, but in a couple of tests, one of the answers is like, well, not that. Yeah, you'll graph it, but you can't. I mean, your graph doesn't really help you much. They're like really random. So just be prepared to get weird answers. You would graph two lines, and they intersect close to 2, 2. Mm-mm. But in the future, you will have weird, really weird answers. Whenever I was making my key last year, I was like, I don't think that's right. But it was. See if you can figure out what n sub n and n sub o would be. Jason, are you finished already? You gonna go work it on the board? Do you agree with him? Any questions on that one? Okay. See if you can solve the system of equations. that's one equation I would make because those are vertical angles. Does that make sense? And if you did something different, one of your equations probably simplified to that. The other equation I would make, 110 plus this angle plus 40 has to equal 180. So this has to be 30 degrees. So 2x plus 5y equals 30 degrees. Does that make sense? That's okay. Y'all see how that works? Does that make sense? Hit the math button. Yeah, do them like you're dividing them. Are you wanting it to look like a fraction? Oh, divided by. It's the same thing. How would I find x? How would I find y? Right? So 2 times 40 over 9 is what? All right, 5y minus equals 30 minus 80 over 9. You have to find y, but you don't have to do it this way. 270 minus 80. Will that reduce? Y'all see how that works? And so what do you get for y? I used 2x plus 5y equals 30. And I plugged in what x equals. Any other questions? Do you have to do it like this? Do I really care how you do it? As long as you're getting the right answer.